Welcome back to Start Here with UDL. We're looking at learner-owned strategies to increase learner agency. And the whole idea is to reduce cognitive load on our working memories as we keep working on complex standards. So today we're going to look at THIEVES. THIEVES is a skimming and annotation for informational text strategy, which is usually used as a before reading strategy. It's also taught in University 101 classes. So this is a great one to introduce to students when they're in upper elementary school or in middle school, and they'll use it for the rest of their lives. Great for professionals. So you'll see that there's an anchor chart on the screen. We've also included an anchor chart that we use in our own classroom, which has the cute little thief in the corner. So it's a joke, get it? Thieves annotate to take away the meaning of a text. So this is, in fact, an annotation strategy. Different than the annotation strategies we've looked at in the past. This isn't general. This is very specific to orient yourself to what you're going to read. So pre-reading strategy, you take a look at title, you take a look at headings, you look at the introduction, you look at every first sentence in a paragraph, you look for visuals and vocabulary, you check the ending, and you ask yourself, so what? Always have a few little hand motions. So in this case, we're looking for the title, we're looking for the headings, we're looking for the introduction, we check every first sentence of a paragraph. We look for visuals and vocabulary. We check the ending, and then we ask ourselves, so what? In this case, there are some subroutines that have fallen here, and one of the most critical is probably to pry. And to pry is very useful for analyzing a visual. But in general, this is a nice way to orient students to annotating their title, looking for the headings, making sure that they pay attention to the introduction, which sometimes is an open paragraph, or the first paragraph could not introduce the text, but instead be a hook. Checking every first sentence in paragraph is a not perfect, but a good first attempt at a skimming. Visuals, again, it's going to cue you to use a subroutine of to pry. Checking for vocabulary lets you use the subroutine of GCDC for words I don't know. Alternately, to collect some tier 3 vocabulary, perhaps, that might be bolded or italicized. And then check the ending when you're getting ready to summarize. Sometimes there is a summary there already. And ask yourself, so what? So you can summarize for yourself of why am I reading this? What is the purpose of this? And gets you to author's purpose. So that's Thieves. And it is pretty popular. One of the reasons for this is it is, in fact, one of the reading strategies that we use to monitor comprehension when we're encountering challenging text. This is a really nice one for students who have heavy load on their working memory. They're coming into class, they're feeling overwhelmed. It lets them self-regulate and feel in control of their own learning, because engaging in Thieves is pretty easy. I'm looking for my title, I'm looking for my headings. Once students get the hang of it, they can use it pretty easily. We can keep an anchor chart on the wall, they can write their mnemonic down, they can look at a cue card. And then if they've had some hallway drama, or they've had a challenging day, or they're just feeling a little run down, it lets them get back into the flow. And flow is one of those things that is, in fact, a motivator. So if I feel like I'm having level 2 fun, so it's not a birthday party, but I am having an okay time, then I can get back into something. And all of us have felt that in our lives. You're cleaning the kitchen or you're working on the car, and it's not that this is the thing that you really want to be doing, but time passes because you feel like you're accomplishing something. So Thieves is a great one to build learner identity as a reader, because students can come in at multiple entry points. And from a UDL lens, we want to make certain that students are building learner expertise, that they're seeing themselves as a learner with agency. They can choose their strategies and they know when to use them, which is that metacognition piece. So this is a sense-making strategy that does attend to text structure. It helps with summarizing. Can also help you ask questions of the text. But I want to tell you the real reason why we spend a lot of time teaching students Thieves at the beginning of the year, which is if you sit next to a student who is reading and you engage in just a very mild interview and you say, hey, you're taking a look at this complex text, might be 1 page long, might be longer, could be a textbook. It's really whatever you're going to have in your classroom. Social studies, science, English, could be anything. What you'll find is they skip the title and they skip the headings. So when you ask them, they'll say, well, I don't have to read the title and I don't have to read the headings. I have to read the text. And so you'll get some version of that from a number of students. So the challenge on this is the way that informational texts are set up is the answer is often in the title and the headings because those are the main ideas. So we're spending a lot of time trying to teach main idea subroutines and detail and evidence routines. And one of the challenges is students aren't aware of where the information is. And so two things happen when you teach thieves. One, their ability to engage in multiple entry points, their ability to engage in an informational text increases, and the speed with which they do it increases because they look for the title and they ask themselves what it means. They look for the headings and they ask themselves what they mean. You can also use a text annotation strategy to go with this. But the other thing that happens is a student who may have spent several years just skipping over the headings suddenly sees the sections and they understand that there is a reason why the author chose that, which is digging into author's purpose at the correct level. So we've gotten away from PIE for persuade, inform, and entertain for author's purpose because that was too simplistic. But a lot of things are in headings or titles or in the choice of the visual or the choice of the vocabulary and even in the ending that are the clues to the author's purpose. And so giving student a very basic strategy like Thieves is actually opening a doorway to them for things that were hidden in plain sight. And so we all enjoy Thieves. It's a nice cross-curricular strategy. So from a perspective of reducing barriers using universal design for learning, learner agency is increased when students can choose to use the Thieves strategy to do things like create a main idea statement and provide an accurate summary using what they found using the Thieves learning strategy. They can also get a better sense of the order that points are made because often those are reflected in the headings. Text features, we mentioned already, an organizational pattern. I will say one more time for the text features, students skip over the visuals. History teachers have been telling us this for years and science teachers that students have an enormous amount of difficulty unpacking visuals. They'll skip over them. We know that charts and graphs and maps and tables are an issue in all kinds of content areas. So TPRI is a subroutine that you probably do want to introduce with this, just as a note to self. And then this integration of concepts. Thieves is such a nice way to get students to focus on how in a text set in multiple texts, maybe paired text, the sections can be compared and contrasted to contribute to the development and meaning of ideas in one text versus another. So they can analyze the differences with a reduced cognitive load of I didn't necessarily have to understand every word in every sentence and get through all of it, which sometimes wears kids out. But instead, they can see where the sections are and start to engage in some self-questioning, which then gives them a reason for reading. Also, if you take a look at RA3B, you'll see the emphasizing of different facts and opinions and relevant details, which also would show up in analyzing not only the headings and the sentences and the vocabulary, but the visuals, the choice of visuals, which in our informational text, it tends to be quite high. In addition, you get all the bonuses of if a student can read for those pieces in Thieves, they'll be able to find relevant evidence and they'll be able to see where the claim evidence reasoning components are, like trace and argument. And then what I love about this is makes analyzing media messages a little bit easier because they can start looking for things. Headings look a little bit different when it's a media message. And then, of course, this helps us with synthesizing information over time. But what I love about Thieves is if you teach tree as a way for students to put together their thoughts for creating an expository or persuasive text, you can then tell them that they have to check their work with Thieves, because if what they've written has a title, has headings, has an introduction, has meaningful vocabulary, has an ending, and can be checked for a summary, checked for a so what, for importance, then a student is able to self-assess on whether they got their point across. And I think that's when you start seeing a whole learner-owned strategy toolkit come together. And from the perspective of UDL, that means that we've increased learner agency and choice, and students are able to use things without the scaffolds that prevent them from being successful when we leave. Instead, they are independent, resourceful, purposeful, and strategic learners. Thanks for hanging with us.